Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest tiny updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at noon and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we're witnessing something truly historic. For over a decade, skeptics have claimed no major bank will ever touch XRP. Today, that narrative ends. What we're seeing is not a small regional bank dabbling with crypto. We're witnessing global financial giants integrating XRP-linked infrastructure into real banking operations. This isn't rumor or speculation. This is a paradigm-shifting moment for the XRP Ledger, ladies and gentlemen. Let that sink in. And in this video, we're breaking down the announcement, the implications, and what it means for the future of global finance. Before we break this down, I just want to thank everyone supporting the channel. Every like, subscribe, and comment empowers us to keep bringing you these updates. Thank you very much for everyone that does that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's dissect this right now. The skeptics were wrong every step of the way. Since the XRP Ledger was launched, the story has always been banks will never adopt this technology. It's too new. They're too entrenched. Startups can't compete with legacy financial giants. At first, that seemed plausible. Major banks dominated global finance, and crypto was still an unproven experiment. Ripple was just a small startup, but everything started to change as banks began showing up in Ripple documentation, using Ripple tools, and eventually adopting XRP-linked infrastructure. Skeptics shifted their arguments again and again. It's just Ripple software, not XRP. They're just experimenting, not committing. Every claim fell apart as institutional integration grew. XRP wasn't just being tested, ladies and gentlemen. It was being deployed in real financial contexts. You got to let this sink in. It's massive. The XRP Ledger wasn't built for small experiments. It was built for institutional adoption, and those institutions recognized its early advantage. Think about it like this. Legacy banks trying to create blockchain infrastructure from scratch is like Kodak trying to invent Instagram after smartphones existed. It's insanity. Or like taxi companies trying to beat Uber by sticking to old technology. Ripple was built for this new world order, and the institutions are finally realizing it. Other historical examples illustrate this pattern of disruption. Blockbuster versus Netflix. Those who clung to legacy methods missed the future. Napster and the music industry. A startup forced the giants to adapt or die. Amazon versus Sears and Macy's. Entrenched retail couldn't pivot fast enough. The Wright brothers versus established aviation engineers. The innovators often succeeded by mastering the new paradigm, not by competing in the old one. Ripple's following the same playbook, building for the next generation of financial infrastructure, while legacy banks scrambled to catch up. This giant institutional announcement earlier was one of the largest banks in the world, Deutsche Bank, confirmed a major expansion of its use of Ripple's XRP-linked payment infrastructure, including enhancements to its cross-border settlement systems, foreign exchange operations, and digital asset frameworks. This is not a pilot or a test, ladies and gentlemen. Deutsche Bank is integrating Ripple's enterprise-grade infrastructure, placing XRP technology at the heart of its modernization strategy. But that's not all. Across Europe, another major financial player, Societe Generale, thought through its digital asset arm, SG Forge, has launched its Euro-backed stablecoin, Euro Coin Vertible, EURCV, on the XRP Ledger. Stablecoin is now live on XRPL alongside deployments on Ethereum and Solana, backed by real euro-denominated assets and aligned with EU regulatory frameworks. It's a clear institutional use case that ties regulated banking infrastructure directly to XRP Ledger rails. This is real-world adoption, ladies and gentlemen. Let this sink in. This is real infrastructure. It's coming from major financial institutions. Why this changes everything? Their traditional argument against XRP has always been big banks can just build them themselves. They won't need Ripple. But the reality today is the opposite. Major institutions are choosing to work with Ripple's technology and XRP Ledger rails rather than building proprietary blockchain systems from scratch. Ripple's long-term strategy focused on bank-ready tools, from custody solutions and liquidity engines to payment systems, instead of purely retail crypto products. That's why banks like Deutsche Bank and institutions like SG Forge are integrating Ripple Tech and the XRP Ledger. Let this sink in. You got to marinate on this. It's massive. These institutions don't care about meme coins or retail wallets. They care about high-performance compliant infrastructure that works with existing financial systems, and they're finding that in XRP Ledger solutions. Think about it. If a bank tried to do this themselves, it's like building a spaceship from scratch when the blueprint already exists. Ripple has built the enterprise, the tech, the expertise, and the partnerships while skeptics kept betting against them. Other historical parallels? Think about the Panama Canal versus small shipping companies. Infrastructure innovation changes the entire flow of global commerce. Think of Tesla versus legacy automakers. First movers in a new technology dominate long-term market share. The printing press versus scribes in medieval Europe. Those who built for the new paradigm changed the world. Ripple's approach mirrors the winners throughout history. Innovative for the new era, and the market follows. Institutional adoption, not retail hype. Why most of crypto world focused on retail features. Ripple focused on enterprises, blockchain adoption. Banks like Deutsche Bank and Societe Generale don't want gimmicks. They want efficiency. They want speed, regulatory certainty. This is what they need to thrive. Institutions like them, this is a systematic seismic shift in the playing field. I can't downplay or even try to upplay how big this is. We've been waiting for something like this. Deutsche Bank is using XRP infrastructure to modernize cross-border payments and liquidity management. Societe Generale's SG Forge deployed a regulated euro-pegged stablecoin on XRPL, showing mainstream financial issuance on blockchain rails. This institutional adoption, and it's happening right now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're following this closely, make sure to hit like and subscribe. I appreciate it. It helps bring this to more people that want to see this breaking news before it goes mainstream. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put this in perspective with some numbers. If you look at XRP's transactions on the ledger, they continue to grow over and over the past 6 months, showing clear institutional uptake. Ripple now has over 100 documented banking partnerships with Deutsche Bank and SG Forge, representing some of the largest global integrations. When we compare retail adoption to institutional adoption, the back-end efficiencies for banks are orders of magnitude higher. Again, it's massive what's happening, creating a real asymmetry in value capture. Now imagine, the Internet of Value is here. This moment is bigger than XRP. It signals the arrival of the Internet of a Value, the next evolution beyond the traditional Internet of Information. Just like TCP/IP revolutionized communication, XRP is set to revolutionize value transfer at a global scale. Some in crypto thought the future would be a patchwork of retail wallets and individual tokens for everyday purchases. But the real transformation isn't what you see at the checkout line. It's what happens behind the scenes, in the plumbing of global finance. And with major institutions publicly choosing XRPL technology, that transformation is no longer theoretical. It's happening. I want you to think about this historical perspective for a second. Railroads transformed the U.S. economy. Invisible infrastructure, changing the way commerce flows. Electric grids, replacing gas lamps. And the end user barely notices at first, but the world changes entirely. Think of the telegraph networks, a subtle innovation that made global communication instantaneous. XRP is the same type of invisible but critical infrastructure for the modern financial system. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, every argument against XRP has now been challenged. Banks won't use blockchain tech. Wrong. Banks won't adopt XRP. Wrong. Crypto can't integrate with traditional finance. Wrong. Today's developments aren't incremental. They are structural. This isn't speculative chatter. This is institutional commitment to blockchain infrastructure that leverages XRP Ledger rails. Think of it like this. Trying to beat Ripple now would be like trying to build Amazon with a blockbuster mindset. Too late, too far ahead. What this means for you, me, and mass adoption is inevitable. Institutional use of XRP Ledger rails shows the infrastructure is winning. Retail benefits will follow. Big innovations start at the institutional level and trickle down. So, ladies and gentlemen, timing is always crucial. There's a huge information gap. Those who see this curve now are ahead of the curve. And this is not financial advice. This is only my opinion. and for entertainment purposes only. So, ladies and gentlemen, looking forward, today's news is just the beginning. Ripple's strategy of building enterprise-ready blockchain infrastructure has paid off. Deutsche Bank is expanding its use of Ripple's tech. Societe Generale is issuing bank-grade stablecoins on XRPL. These are not isolated events. These are systematic shifts in the global finance world will operate in the years to come. This isn't just about crypto anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the future of how money moves, settles, and is transferred across the world. We are witnessing a transformation that will shape global finance markets for decades. Institutional adoption, XRP Ledger infrastructure is happening right now, and it's irreversible. So pay attention, understand the magnitude, and remember, the future doesn't wait for those who stand still. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this update, please hit like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Well, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Matcha green tea today. A lot is happening, and it's what a time to be alive. I want to start by going back to what I learned on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange as a kid at 15, and the people that took me under their wing and mentored me, and how lucky I was to learn from all their experiences, because that tradecraft is what it is. To me, again, I'm going to answer a question that some of the family offices who I work for that now watch. The top financial mercenary that mentored me in the tradecraft when I started at 15 years old on the floor of the NYMEX in Building 7, well, were obsessive. They hate losing, had psycho traits, super competitive, made a lot of sacrifices, 100 of sleepless nights, extremely misunderstood, called crazy by outsiders and at times their own families. And there's no shortcut to the title of being a financial mercenary. It's a very cold, long profession. It's a mindset that leads to winning because, as they would tell me, our breed of men and women mentored me as well. So our breed of men and women is that of a complete psycho. You got to be a psycho to trade the amount of monies in what we do that no one can keep up with on the floor in the pits when the screaming and yelling is deafening, and any mistake is the end of your financial existence and that of your family and of your wolf pack. So again, it's mindset that decides how far you will go in this space. Your focus decides how fast you will grow. Consistency decides if you will win. So in this space, I was told, you must disappear, then go to war against the man or woman in the mirror, and you don't come back until you win. That's the code of the financial mercenary that everyone should live by. It was taught to me to stay private, work hard, always dress well, eat healthy, talk less, do more, live life, keep learning, be kind, avoid drama, and stay humble and pursue goals. This was paramount in my evolution on the floor because we had to go in and screaming and yelling and everything like that. It was nuts. Again, there were no computers in the beginning. You just wrote on a card and you threw it in. That's what it was like. But I want to there's a lot of big things that happened, today. The tariffs were struck down 6-3. Okay. Again, very, very big. But we're going to tie all this in. I want to say welcome to all the new members of our Patreon, all the new members of our membership channel. Welcome. I love chatting with you. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a community and a place that takes all of these delicious nuggets and stories from the soap opera of chaos and links them together for actionable intelligence and want to be taught what I was taught on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange, come and join us. It'll help you step up your game in more ways than other. Again, I love chatting with everyone and teaching everyone that. But that's how I link all the soap opera of chaos where I take the PhD out of PhD. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot is happening today. And happy Friday. The White House is described as pressing Wall Street banks to accept limited stablecoin rewards in the next draft of the U.S. crypto market structure bill. Negotiations involve language that would permit some stablecoin rewards but restrict those similar to deposit account interest, aiming to address bank concerns. This compromise is expected to facilitate legislative progression through several related issues remain unresolved. SEC Chair Paul Atkins and Commissioner Hester Pierce stated support for clarifying tokenized security status under federal laws aiming to provide regulatory certainty. They addressed cryptocurrency price volatility and referenced pending U.S. legislation changes such as the Clarity Act, which may transfer some SEC oversight of digital assets to the CFTC. We're on the camp that this gets done. Again, I'm going to tie this all into XRP and why this is massive. Stay with me. Again, Minneapolis Fed president described crypto as utterly useless compared to AI and criticized stablecoin use cases at the 2026 Midwest Economic Outlook Summit. They questioned stablecoins' advantages over existing payment systems and argued their remittance benefits are limited by conversion fees and local monetary policies. So that's the argument and the do-si-do that's going through right now. Again, POTUS has committed to somewhat of a timeline, deciding he's going to make a decision. Again, we're watching everything, what's going on with that, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the talk of price floors, right? Because we hear that happening now with metals. I went over that in yesterday's video. And if you're brand new here, welcome everyone. And you made it this point, please like and subscribe. You're going to have to go back to some other videos, how I link all the stories we're following to where we're going and why. And again, this is important. So price floors are often dismissed as purely protectionist tools, but they actually reflect the nation's ability to leverage its pricing power strategically, and that's precisely the approach we could be seeing right now with metals. This policy could be implemented through initiatives like Paxilica, a U.S.-led alliance coordinating non-Chinese sourcing and refining. Think of it like G7 OPEC model, access to critical commodities, whether metals or energy, is increasingly being managed as a strategic asset while operational details are still emerging. This signals a broader structural shift toward deliberate management of commodity pricing and supply. Ladies and gentlemen, we went over this, right? Being in the mining refining industry for half my life and running concessions and refineries in Southeast Asia and other areas, again, the refining capacity in the United States doesn't exist. It's not there. That's a big thing. So the supply is there, but the refining capacity is just not there. So that's a big thing that we're paying attention to. Again, economic warfare and geopolitical things we're following right now. And we're going to tie all this in because this is how, as we're the remora swimming underneath the apex predators, we're feasting on what's happening. And there's nothing better than on a Friday when you know that the stories and the mini-series of chaos that we are following that are all making sense and converging. It's fantastic, at least to us, because again, this is all, I'm built for this and designed as a financial mercenary. Again, we don't care what happens. We care about our performance, our bank accounts, and the preservation of our benefactors, or there's no reason for us to exist. Again, most people don't like me, but they like our tactics. That's it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward on the private investment side, we went over this yesterday. Elemental is now offering clients the option to receive dividends in gold, specifically through Tether Gold. At first glance, some may consider that a niche offering, but the implications are significant. So historically, before the advent of money markets, cash savings offered minimal returns, often just a fraction of a percent. The creation of money markets changed all that, delivering yields in the high single digits. In English, think of it. If you're old enough, think of what the world was like before money markets were invented. You had a savings account, you got like 25 basis points, maybe not even very much. And then money markets were invented, and all of a sudden people were getting like 9, 7, 8%. Well, now you got Tether creating products, these stable coins, love them or hate them, the company that's involved with them. This is what's happening. What we're witnessing is the next evolution. Blockchain-based stable coins are enabling a new class of money market alternatives. Investors can now choose to receive dividends in gold, essentially a Western version of a type of gold ownership China has historically promoted. With the added benefits and challenges of blockchain infrastructure, inflation dynamics are central here. Again, if inflation spikes, gold becomes a natural hedge, ladies and gentlemen, because monetary authorities are unlikely to tighten aggressively. If inflation remains subdued, gold still benefits as markets anticipate easing. Investors are increasingly treating every data point as an opportunity to secure liquidity or hedge risk. This is against a backdrop of recent Fed Reserve minutes, which indicate the possibility that policymakers are openly discussing raising rates, a development that has caught many by surprise. The implications for commodities, precious metals, and new blockchain-driven investment vehicles are profound, and they warrant close attention. Some people would think that the fact that they're talking about raising rates is insane. If you've been following here, you've been following this, I salute you. You know why? Because we told you when we sold gold last time it was approaching towards 5,400, and we called that. If you go back to that video, we said we were selling it would probably drop. We sold for people that retain us in any capacity. None of this is financial advice. This is just my observation and opinion for anyone that retains myself or us in any capacity. We told you that the difference between the world would be the treasury system and having gold become a collateralized asset that you could get a loan against that the east side of the tranche wants to use and replace the treasury system that's the west side of the tranche. So the U.S. treasury system's under attack again. So you raise interest rates, right? You take you flush out some of the fluff in gold market. Gold is still good, in our opinion, will move higher again, right? But you stopped it from going parabolically high. So it took profit, went down because people have to have this conversation now in boardrooms until we see more information on the soap opera of chaos taking the PhD out of PhD, that is something that you have to pay attention to. So it's going to be in ranges. Again, we saw this coming. This is what we communicated people. The video where I said I couldn't make anything over the weekend because I had to go visit a very powerful family office that wanted to see me in person, that was referred to me when we took on that position months ago. Again, we always, as a financial mercenary, you're putting your reputation on the line every day, day in, day out. That's it. The same way on the floor. Again, why I said people as a financial mercenary and floor trader psychos, I learned from the absolute best floor traders, the locals who traded in each pit, that in the closing minutes would come in and want 300-400 lots. And I would watch them trade. And that's a massive trade, massive. So I got to learn the tips from the best locals in each pit. And I also got to learn from some of the best people at the most prestigious banks, because who my family was at the Mercantile Exchange. Again, that shaped me going all the way into physical concession development of what we see right now. Again, so I want to loop all this in right now, and this is very important. According, an article came out on Bloomberg, Bitcoin's in a tight range. Yes, the money flew out of cryptos and into the path of least resistance, which is precious metals right now. Again, that's moving because depending on what kind of desk you're running, weekly, monthly, quarterly numbers, it's easier to watch this, and the range you can get what you got to get. That's what's happening. Again, once this man Walsh was put it up for nomination, the entire story changed. The playbook that they were running on, throw it in the garbage, basura. The new playbook that we're following. So that's why your position side's got to be small enough so you don't get cut up like sushi. And you can have the Gucci clarity. You get the Gucci clarity and that conviction when you know the themes and the stories that you're watching and following that are dictating how the macro events are following and shaping each market align. And when they align, it's magnificent. Magnificent. So again, Bitcoin's in a tight range. I want you to understand something. With Deutsche Bank getting involved in XRP, I remember trading Forex with Deutsche Bank before Forex, you had to take, it was unregulated. Forex was unregulated for a long time. But when you go back to the subprime crisis and FACTA being passed, which changed the way that you could send money overseas, accounting things, the world forever changed. Even with future commission merchants, U.S. citizens could no longer send money overseas, had to stay inside. It was very, very different with accounting. Deutsche Bank is one of the major FX brokerage. We traded with them. We were one of few banks and few funds that were profitable when the sky was collapsing and the mortgage meltdown. We remember that because they wanted to, offer our trading services to their own client base, and we wouldn't allow it because we're closed of who we work for, its relationships, and we were just never taking on new people. We don't do that. So the fact that they're getting involved now and the news with this with XRP is massive. I've been telling you and preaching this for a long time, that seeing where we see from our end in the Mariana Trenches, and Deutsche Bank is one of the Krakens in the Mariana Trenches. Once they give you the thumbs up, you Gucci. You so Gucci, unbelievable Gucci. We see the catalog of companies that they're building. I see it on our end. It's not designed for retail people, but like I tell you, as it seeps down to everyone, it's going to be magnificent. So the fact that they're involved now, forget about it. Again, I can't even explain that. It's mesmerizing. And Societe Generale, again, these are banks that I know from dealing with them on an institutional and a business relationship. The fact that they're involved and hearing what they say to me when I get a phone call with them and we're just going back and forth, or I'm in town visiting people that I've known for 20 some odd years, and they love these things without mentioning names, it's phenomenal. It's the future. You can't be a Luddite. It's time to be excited. But right now, again, we've been talking about the major themes. And again, if you want to see how we're linking this and hand-holding, come and join our community in the Patreon. We're teaching people how we connect all these dots with our tips from the pits of what was taught to myself and our organization, how to make sense of this. Again, I'm going to tell you something else, and this is massive, right? In the mining industry right now, People are calling people, and I'm getting phone calls from people that I've had actual arguments in boardrooms, really overseas. And I love it because I've always kept my word, who I am and what I'm about, right? Again. And I was telling people, so now you want to buy everyone downstream, or they call explorers. So you're going to come into the jungle with me when we do our own geological surveys, what I told people were just protein. You didn't want to come into the jungle with me when we were going into Papua New Guinea years ago, right? Or Kalimantan, East Borneo. You didn't want to come into the jungles then with me because we're all just protein. But again, the rush for metals to satisfy the demand in all these situations that are happening, the chaos, the pulling, it's a smorgasbord of opportunity. The alpha farming that's going to happen now is unbelievable, but it's going to be changed by themes that traders are going to have to pay attention to in boardrooms that are controlling money. See, with us, we have the ability to be a lot more risky for other things because just by the dynamics of who we are in our organization. Again, that's why we're retained by so many people, and I just can't even talk about it. None of this is financial advice. All you got to know is that if you go back and you're brand new here, welcome. Again, welcome. You're going to have to go back to some of the videos when I started going off rants. Listen to me. We are following the soap opera chaos. That's why I read all the newspapers. That's why I watch all the news globally and I follow everything. There's no time for anything else. My recreation is this. I've come to enjoy coming here to talk to everyone. I love talking to everybody in the Patreon. Yes, and the demand for calls, that's going to be set up next week. We've been inundated for people wanting to schedule phone calls with us. We'll have that on a limited basis, but that will be up next week. And guys, listen, I love every one of you. I love this game. I love the financial chaos that we're going through. And if you're here with me, do subscribe. Stay with us. You're going to learn everything. And if you make it to the end, you get the Italian iced candy. When I rant and rave like I'm still on the phone, the Mercantile Exchange. Thank you, everybody, for your well wishes and all the tips. I'm taking the vitamins, drinking the matcha. With Babs, I don't know, guys. I'm going to do all the advice everyone says. I just don't think that she's going to make it. So I got to chalk that up this. But listen and follow this. I've been in this game long enough now that I can understand from chaos to situation to chaos. I remember I was talking to someone today that became a client when oil, the first, Trump administration, when oil was so low, nobody was making money. How we were helping people then, we were actually helping people buy crude oil, take delivery of it and store it. Oil tankers that weren't being used. The normal places in the West Indies and other islands that we could find any place that would store crude oil, we were taking delivery because it was like basically zero. And I said, how can you lose money? It's not like the world's going to stop using oil. Take the delivery now. We store it over here. We do the mathematics, what it's going to cost you to store the oil. Like, look, I said, an oil tanker's got 20 years of life. The first 12 years are paying back the note on the ship. The last 8 years of what you get is green and gravy. Again, that's different, right? That's a whole story. But we took delivery for so many people and we stored it everywhere we could. Fast forward, look at oil. So the opportunities are there to take advantage of the chaos. The tariffs getting struck down. We'll see what happens. I never take any political sides on anything because we are mercenaries. Ladies and gentlemen, I always tell you, the wolf pack, and I love us, is my favorite animal, the wolf. It's not doing tricks in the circus, but it knows when to pack up for defense. Because believe me, people cannot keep saying that we're insane about XRP, what we believe going forward, because it's happening. It's happening. That's it. It's happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, think about it. The very people who shaped global financial system have had their eyes on XRP from the very start. They debated it. They tried to control it. They tried to slow it down. And yet here we are. This isn't hype. This isn't theory. It's documented, influenced the highest levels. And here's the craziest part. While retail investors panic, all the leverage is gone, metals are quietly stabilizing, and XRP is holding its structure. You're watching history unfold. You're seeing a rare moment where everything aligns. Quietly, the system, the asset, the players behind the scenes. If you're still here, still paying attention, still thinking instead of reacting, you're already ahead of most people, and we'd appreciate a like and if you'd subscribe. Years from now, this period won't be remembered for panic. It'll be remembered as preparation. Stay patient, stay grounded, and above all, pay attention to what's quiet. Markets don't do this by accident. That's not noise, that's structure. You're part of it. You're witnessing it. And you'll look back one day and you know you understood what most missed. Thank you for being here. I appreciate every one of you and love you. Have a great day. Always stay emotionless. Watch XRP closely. This could be a defining moment. This content is for informational entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will make most of it and benefit. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You got two choices. You can be like the crowd reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves they'll never let it happen again, or you can be the one who saw behind the curve, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opens your eyes. Smash that like button. Ring that bell. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay in the Republic. Love you all.